if you're a New Zealand-based business, you can expect to spend anywhere from 300 to 500 bucks a month to get cut through on Google Ads. And if you were to compare that to Facebook, for example, you might say that's quite expensive. But that also goes back to what I said earlier about the intent that you get to target by using AdWords rather than Facebook.
Kia ora team, Richard Liew here, editor at nzentrepreneur.co.nz. Today on the Knowledge Base, I'm talking to Joe Sutheran. Now he's a fellow Wannakin, so that's cool. Always love to be talking to people from our neighborhood. But he's an expert in Google AdWords and Google Analytics. And he runs a little practice called Joe Blogs Digital. So Joe, really looking forward to this chat. Thanks for taking the time to chat to us today.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's cool to be here.
Cool. Okay, so let's crack in. Tell us quickly who exactly you work for or you provide services to, and what problems do you help them solve?
Sure. So my little consulting practice, I guess, is it's geared towards small and medium businesses that need some support in a few different areas of digital marketing. I guess my background is digital marketing and also some business analysis. So I enjoy getting really nerdy, looking at numbers and reporting and figuring out where there are not just opportunities in digital marketing, but also efficiencies within the business. But that always starts with trustworthy data, which is why Google Analytics is one of the things that I focus on.
Right, cool. Now, if anyone is watching this and you've tried to get your head around Google Analytics and Google AdWords, I mean, it's almost like you need to be a full-time, marketer just focused on those two things to be across everything you need to get it set up powerfully. And I know for many business owners, it just goes in the too hard basket. Or if they are doing it, they're sort of dabbling, or, okay, I'm going to invest the time, I'm going to put some money into AdWords. And then you just keep paying and you never really look at it again and you just have no idea how it's actually performing. So can you tell us, let's focus on Google AdWords for the moment. The AdWords, it's been around for a long time now, right? It's totally revolutionized advertising as we know it over the last couple of decades. Where are we today in 2023? Like, is it still like as powerful? Should we still be using it? Should we be diverting our advertising and marketing budgets to Google AdWords? What's your take?
I would say yes, it's still as powerful and it's still worth the dollars that we spend on it. The thing with Google Ads is you're targeting people that are showing the intent for the product that you're marketing. That's the key difference between AdWords versus Facebook, for example. On Facebook, you target someone actually in a lot of detail based on their demographics and their interests. But for example, if I'm interested in rugby, that doesn't mean I'm always on the lookout for the next ticket to buy for the next game or the next rugby jersey. The difference is with AdWords, I'm showing the intent as the customer to search, and then the ads are being displayed to me at the time where I'm at the narrow end of that funnel. I'm in the buying decision-making process. So I don't see that changing anytime soon in terms of how powerful Google Ads is and will continue to be.
Right. Okay. So you heard it there, folks. It still should be part of our overall marketing mix in some way, shape, or form. Now, obviously, if we're doing a great job on search engine optimization and content on our websites and whatever, we hope that organically we'll be ranking, highly in Google searches. But that's hard work, right? And it can take a long time. So what are some of the key things, let's say, what your top 3 things that any business owner should know about Google AdWords or before, jumping in and looking to set up, looking to use it effectively?
Cool. Well, to start with, you're absolutely right that SEO and organic content is central to any digital marketing strategy, and it's a long game. So it's a case of sort of write something regularly, push it out there, check every few months really how you're ranking for certain terms that you're targeting with that content. So content writing definitely should be central. AdWords can sort of augment and bolster your traffic as you try to build your organic profile. But in order to know how either of those things are performing, really you need to start with Google Analytics. So every website, as far as I'm concerned, should have analytics installed on it. And I always say to people, it's like savings, right? The best time to start was yesterday, or investing. So even if you don't foresee big business decisions anytime soon, like a redesign of a website that you own, you still want that data there when that decision has to be made, right? So if you decide you need to redesign your website and then you turn on Google Analytics to see how it's being used, you have to wait months for that data to be valid and usable. So by starting with a instance of analytics installed, then you build that data in the background, and then you can use it to make decisions as and when those decisions need to be made.
Right. So what you're saying is that if you're thinking about using Google AdWords, don't do anything until you firstly got your head around Google Analytics.
I think so, yes. There are different ways to install analytics. You can do a pretty basic sort of off-the-shelf version, which will just give you basic data like page views and a little bit of interaction data. Or you can use Google Tag Manager, which is a slightly more advanced and a more controllable way to do it, which means you can set it up in a way that tracks more of the behaviors of your users on your website. And then, so Tag Manager and Analytics and AdWords work really nicely together in order to measure the success of an AdWords campaign.
Right. Okay. So once we've got our analytics sort of set up and in place, and now we're ready to spend money on Google AdWords. Again, because it can seem really daunting, like, you know, and there are a lot of people out there like yourself who are professionals. You've spent a long time working in the area, learning about it. So yeah, what might the average business owner be doing or thinking about if they're wanting to do this themselves? You know,
Sure.
what's key advice there?
Yeah, I think if you're a New Zealand-based business, you can expect to spend anywhere from $300 to $500 a month to get cut through on Google Ads. And if you were to compare that to Facebook, for example, you might say that's quite expensive. But that also goes back to what I said earlier about the intent that you get to target by using AdWords rather than Facebook. And the reason that that intent is there, or the fact that that intent is there, means that there is more competition for that intent, which drives up the cost of those ads. So in general, advertising on Google is probably more expensive than Facebook, but that also will fluctuate based on what type of product you're advertising and how much competition you've got for it. So that's the first thing. The other things to think about if you were going to run ads yourself is keyword research. There are some tools out there you can use to research the kinds of keywords that you would expect your customers would use to find your product. And Google can give you some forecasts as to how many searches per month that term would get. And it can even tell you roughly how many clicks that an ad might get from users using that search term. So you would do some keyword research, find the ones with decent volume and crucially decent click-through rate, and include them in your campaign. And then it's a case of watching the campaign over time. And without going into too much detail and nerding out here, you can look at location. So is traffic in a certain location more engaged? Maybe if you're a local service or product, then you would expect that to be the case. You can look at the keywords themselves. So maybe there's one search term that is performing really well and the others aren't. You can turn up how much you're willing to pay for clicks for that particular term. Devices, maybe a lot of your users are on mobile, and therefore you might want to turn off desktop advertising completely. So if I'm searching from a desktop, I won't even see your ad. So there are lots of different levers to pull. Even gender, you can do household income. So you can pull lots of levers in order to optimize your ads. And so there's a lot to think about and a lot to learn. And as you're learning, it can get quite expensive for sure.
Right. Mistakes then. What are some of the classics that you see people making?
I think not doing careful keyword research is quite a common one. So you make assumptions about the terms that you think users are going to use, and by targeting those terms, you end up paying quite a lot per click because perhaps the product or service you're advertising isn't quite as relevant as you thought to that particular term, and Google punishes your ad because it's not delivering as relevantly as possible to the term that someone has used. So keyword research is crucial, really. Another is there is a type of campaign in Google Ads called smart campaigns, which appeal to new users of Google Ads because there's no configuration involved. You basically put in your website URL and say, bring me some traffic. And it goes and scrapes your URL for as much information as it can get. And it creates dynamic ads using copy from your website. So it sounds like a great idea, but in practice, they tend to look like very spammy ads, which means you get very few clicks, or if you do get clicks, they're very expensive. So those are a couple of things, I guess, to watch out for.
Right. Okay. Now, from a practical point of view, like a small business owner, for example, looking to manage their own AdWords, what can they expect in terms of time that really needs to be put in? Like if you're going to do it well,
sure.
What's that time commitment look like?
I tend to aim or expect to spend 4 to 5 hours on keyword research and on building a campaign. That includes doing things like setting up the conversions that we want that campaign to optimize for. That's a analytics and a tag manager job as well. So 4 to 5 hours to set it up, and then probably around 2 hours per month to keep them optimized. And that means checking how the keywords are performing, how much are the clicks costing for a particular term, checking locations to see how they're performing and whether you need to turn some off and turn some up. So the optimization is a couple of hours a month. Most of the legwork is up front in the research and building the actual campaign. And the longer you run them, the cheaper you could hope that they get, because you spend time optimizing and you notice that a particular household income level is costing you more than another. So you might turn that one off, or you might find that men are more engaged than women, so you turn off the female one. So the longer it runs, the more you learn, like with anything, I guess. Right.
Cool. So if what you're saying is if you're an expert in this, you know what you're doing, then you'd be looking to have at least 4 or 5 hours to set up, do your keyword research properly, and at least a couple of hours every month just to keep it optimized and keep tabs on it and keep testing. I mean, now the problem, I guess, is that most of us out here watching are not experts at all. So to me, that means I'd be looking at 20 hours, I guess, of learning about keyword research, and about 5 times the amount of time each month to do it. And it's a no wonder it just doesn't get done so often. And the thing I love about what you're doing, Joe, is I think for about $800 you can set up a whole proper expert Google AdWords campaign. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. That's sort of a bit of an offer that I'm running at the moment to give people a taster of how it can be done, and hopefully done well.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, Joe, and thanks for those insights, and all the best.
Awesome. Thanks, Richard.